Nebraska Preps Postgame with Damon Benning and Jacob Padilla.
That's a big voice guy, which means I'm back with my main man, Jacob Padilla. We've got another week of Nebraska Preps postgame. Listen, it's stressful for everybody. I mean, JP covers Nebraska sports from top to bottom. He's well-versed in high school, which is why he's my partner. The owner of his NBA basketball team is continuing to make news.
Let's not talk about that one.
That is so anti the good guy JP, right? Like, I finally feel like as a resident sports fan and a guy that knows a lot about a lot, I don't know if you've ever had to cheer for somebody because he's part of your team that you don't really like, but
see, the thing
welcome
is,
to my world as a Lakers fan.
The Suns have hated Robert Sarver basically the entire time he's owned the team.
Yep.
So now we just have even more reason to do so. And hopefully this will lead to him getting pushed out somehow. Eventually there'll hopefully be enough pressure from sponsors and players and everything to do something there. But yeah, not great.
When you first heard the suspension and the fine, were you like, yeah, that's right? Or like, what was your knee jerk?
Not surprised, but disappointed.
Okay. Okay.
Because I mean, I understood, like, it's Adam Silver works for the owners, and the owners don't want to set that precedent. Like, there were some extenuating circumstances with the Donald Sterling thing that led to him getting pushed out that don't exist in this case. And again, like, the owners are going to take care of their own. They're not going to set a precedent that could come back to bite them. So it is what it is. Hopefully, we'll see again more pressure and the situation becomes untenable at some point. But
wow, nice word. Wow, I see. You know, somebody I finally don't have to feel like, you know, because people make fun of me for my vocabulary, and I try to tell people it's not. You don't try. You just say whatever it is that how you're used to talking, right? And
read a lot of books growing up, so picked up a few things.
I don't know what my excuse is. I'm going to blame my dad because I didn't read for anything. Well, I take that back. I did like a lot of kids' books, the BFG, James and the Giant Peach, White Mountain, you know, things like that. Yeah. A Wrinkle in Time.
Well, there you go. That's a little,
I'm
a little bit more cultured.
I'm trying, JP. I'm trying. As we're here for another week, I think.
It's back starting on our new day, Monday. We're gonna stick with this.
Yeah. Do you find folks like Mondays? We can do Mondays. Do you like Mondays?
It's a little closer to the action. We're not talking about stuff that's so old. And last week's case, we had to recap the previous week on the day that the new week was starting, so that's not ideal. But we kind of have to bounce back and forth and balance things out based on what the two of us have going on outside this, and we can get studio time. And with some changes going on down in Lincoln for the rest of the season, suddenly Monday becomes the open day. So now we can kind of react a little bit sooner to what happened.
Generally speaking, and you can pick the class from, you know, Aurora to Pierce doing what they do. And how about how we peg that in a high scoring shootout, right? Like that was like a pinball game. To Class A, were there any, what you'd say, aha surprises where you're like, oh, that's interesting. That's not exactly like I thought it was going to go.
I mean, probably the most surprising result, I think, was the Kearney upset over Bellevue West, and not shocked because we've seen Kearney do it before, and obviously Bellevue West is in a tough spot now. They've lost some guys on that offensive line. They're pretty banged up, but I think just to see them, I mean, again, Kearney's off to a great start, and they're a good team, got a great coach. So it's not shocking, but I think it was surprising to see Bellevue West go down. You figure coming off that loss last week, is this going to be a case where Westside beats them twice, or do they come in fired up to get back on track? And they weren't able to get it done. 35-34 loss at home to the Kearney Bearcats.
Yeah, and I was trying to go back, and I probably should have done a better job being a historian. I don't think Coach Huffman has lost 2 games before October 1st since he's been off of Highway 75.
Wow.
Let's just stop for a minute and appreciate consistency.
Yeah.
In his coaching tenure, I don't believe he's lost 2 games before October 1st in his tenure at Bellevue West.
Yeah, that's how many other programs can say that, because we've seen different teams be really good over the last few years,
Right,
and then
it's
take some dips.
unbelievable consistency, and I'm sure if I'm him, I'm thinking, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I've become my own benchmark, which is what I think most people strive to do, right? You want to become the benchmark for what all other things are compared to, and shoot, I mean, but then on the other hand, there's Coach Cool.
Yeah.
Just continue. There's something about him that embraces getting on that interstate. I don't know if it's Feynman Field in general. I mean, uh, he just embraces the role of not one guy is going to make that all get off the bus team, and
Yeah.
they just continue to rack up wins.
Down 28-14, rallied to win it.
Easy to
at the
go
end.
away, right?
Yeah. 21 points in the fourth quarter, blocked the extra point that ended up being the difference in the game. But again, just look in the box score, 12 penalties for 91 yards for Bellevue West. Again, another problem that was huge in the Westside game, except Westside kind of gave it back. Kearney, more discipline, 4 penalties, 20 yards. And I mean, 340 yards for Daniel Kalin, 2 touchdowns. Gio Contreras over 100 on the ground. They moved the ball, but couldn't get stops in the fourth. Traven Beckman, 329 yards on just 13 completions. The difference was long touchdowns. Bellevue West just had some busts when you can't afford it. Carter Lee, 79-yard touchdown. Xander Ruling, a 69-yard touchdown. I believe that was the go-ahead score.
Yeah, that was
Compton, 76-yard touchdown. So like those, I mean, you can't be giving up three scores of 60+ yards in a game. Like that's exactly how you get yourself beat.
And here's the interesting thing: if you're Bellevue West, that's the second double-digit lead that you've blown. Actually, it's the third double-digit lead that you've blown, but the second that resulted in a loss since you've started the season. They're up 21-7 against Prep. Prep drew back even. They were up against us, ended up losing that game in the second half, up 2 scores against Kearney, and ended up losing that game. So it's kind of weird. If you're Coach Huffman and you're kind of looking into your crystal ball to predict the future, you know what it takes to start fast and get out ahead. Are you built for what comes with how that game has to play on in terms of whether it's not salting clock, but basically it's how do you play from ahead?
Well, and it's possessing the ball too. They had 4 fumbles lost.
Yeah,
and
a
lot
11,
more.
11 total.
I was gonna say a lot more that they didn't
11
lose.
total balls on the ground. They lost 4 plus a couple of interceptions.
And you look at it in like the interceptions kind of offset there. Kearney had 1 too, but yeah, 4 fumbles lost, and it's by all of your best playmakers. 4 fumbles lost by 4 wide receivers. So like that's exactly how you give away a game, how you let a team get back into it, is by not possessing the ball after you get the lead. So that the penalties, it's just there's a lot of stuff that Bellevue West has to clean up. I'm sure Huffman, like you said, 2 losses, first time ever, probably disappointed at this point, but if they can figure some things out, like health-wise with some of the guys they've lost, and get guys a little bit healthier, they just got to clean a lot up. They've got to play much cleaner football, and they still got the talent. Like if they can do that by the end of the season, they still very much have a chance to make a run, but that stuff is going to get you beat against the good teams. You cannot make a deep tournament run with turnovers, with penalties consistently.
Yeah, hey, why'd you guys start with Bellevue West Kearney? Well, I asked JP what his surprise of the week was. We typically like to go in order. I mean, we can go anywhere. You want to go Class A? You want to go back to Class A or Class B?
We'll keep going with the Class A here, because coming off that loss to Bellevue West, and then Westside coming off the game last week, we were both over there at Buell on Friday. I just kind of checking out the game from the stands this time instead of roaming the sidelines.
Do you like that?
Yeah, it's the first time I think I've ever done it. But I was like, I went there with our good buddy Robbie Lula, so just like, I'll just kind of relax this on, not necessarily do what I normally do. Still got a chance to tweet out some highlights and keep the score updates, but sat back a little bit.
Is that fun because I'm with you. I've seen over the last handful of years, we're in the same place a ton. When you're working, Twitter is not your friend. You'll wait. You'll either catch halftime, a timeout, or after the game. Do you mind kind of the live tweeting?
Well, so my process, I'm down there on the sideline trying to follow the ball as best as I can. I'm writing a play-by-play in my little notebook,
Of course.
so that I can, because never know, like box scores, like not official, but it's never know when might be able to see some stats from schools.
I get it.
So I got to try to keep something to do my own writing afterward, and I kind of do 5 thoughts stories instead of like straight gamers, but I get a little bit more in depth with it. I don't like just like, oh, this kid made a good play, so I'm going to write about how he's an explosive player. I try to have a little bit more substance to it. So I like keeping the play-by-play there so I can track all that stuff. And so I'm trying to keep the play-by-play. Then I'm tweeting out after every touchdown, trying to squeeze in a tweet here and there if there's another play that I feel like highlighting. So yeah, it's kind of stressful. It's kind of you got the break at halftime. Otherwise, it's just kind of straight go the whole game. So, but yeah, got to relax on Friday and ended up seeing a pretty competitive game. Credit to Millard North. That was a 35-23 win for Westside. You guys ended up pulling away in the stretch in the end, but Millard North executed this game plan pretty well. Possessed the ball. I think what you said, Westside only had 15 plays.
15 offensive plays in the first half.
Yeah, that's a good way to keep the point total down for an explosive team. Just don't let them touch the ball.
And I think we were down at the half 16-7, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting in watching this game, and this is the advantage to coaching versus kind of just watching. When you see plays or you read stats and you'll say, hey, Evans, long run or
16-14. You guys did get that score right before half, but they were up 60. You were up or down 16-7. Yeah.
That just lets you know I try not to score much.
Yeah.
So, but I did tell the guys, at the half and talking to the defense when we rally, say, hey, listen, we're going to get a stop. We're going to take the ball. We're going to score. We're going to get a stop, and it'll be game on. Because my thought was with the rest of our defensive coaches that Millard North would be done scoring. But I just didn't. I felt like we had made some in-game adjustments that were going to neutralize the quarterback run game. But it's very interesting, and this is a critical piece, kind of like for fans watching. I think it's easy to say, "Oh man, the quarterback run game. Westside just can't stop the quarterback run game," or whatever team it is. You just insert the kind of the easy narrative for how the game is unfolding. Oh, Chris Paul getting any spot on the floor he wants to, right? When there's probably a method to the madness on why that's happening. So we felt going in, we're like, okay, we could be a little bit vulnerable in C gap, which, if you count spaces, guard, center, or center, guard, tackle, just right there in the inside shoulder of the tackle, there's a way that we want to play defense. And I said, okay, hey, our outside linebackers, this is how you have to play it. We try to get 5 to dive. So 5 in the box are on dive. If the quarterback keeps in midline, you're going to be late to get there, but you have to squeeze the hole, restrict his lane. Well, the 2 times we didn't do it, they creased us, and they didn't just crease us for a 5-6 yard gain. They were huge.
Yeah. Evan Hansen had about 3 huge gains. Like you said, just managed to
and he
squeeze
did it
through
in
there
about 6 carries, right?
So he was easily over 100 yards in the quarterback run game. But
and he kept the ball a ton during the game, but he did the bulk of his work on 3 runs in about a 6-run span in the first and second quarter.
Yeah.
So immediately we talk upstairs. I talked to our Coach Rotino, Coach Queen, who's putting together our defense. And it's like, hey, we need to get, instead of 5 to dive, we got to roll the dice. Let's get 1 more on the quarterback. Stop putting so much pressure to restrict the C gap. And all of a sudden we started to shut them down. So those are the things that I like doing when we coach that actually matter when you're starting to see the outcomes. It's like, you may say, hey, instead of hedging on the ball screen, play underneath. He can't make it, force him to shoot. Stop dribble drive penetration. Like those are things that happen real time that are maybe outside the scouting report, or maybe a guy gets hot and you have to kind of adjust how you normally would play it. Those are the kinds of things that I like coaching.
Yeah. And on the same time, it's a decision you have to make within the game. Like, all right, how much do we rely on what we came in scouting? Like, do we abandon the game plan or do we stick with the
beautiful call? So the
but
three
you can't let them kill you at the same time either. You can't let them keep doing the same thing. So it's a fine, like as coaching, those are hard decisions to make.
The three best players we thought coming in on offense, 22, 8, 24. Who ended up dealing us fits? 12.
Yeah.
Right? Because we didn't think two, who's Quaintance, who's listen, how would you like to have that frame?
Yeah, it's 6'4".
He looks like $1,000,000. He and his brother, they are fantastic high school players.
And he's been out, right? And they kind of
he's got a bad shoulder.
Yeah, working him back in out at receiver this week. They kind of subbing him in and out there, getting chances, try to like you said, use that big frame. So good to see him back out there. Even though, like you said, he wasn't able to make a huge impact in the game. But again, first step, you got to get back on the field before you can get back to 100%.
Impressive how hard Millard North plays, isn't it?
And they made you guys earn it early on. Like
they play hard. I mean, I can hear warm ups, and I know you can tell fake toughness from guys really believing. There at no point before that ball kick did Millard North not think that they were going to win that game.
Well, and he talked about how young they were early on in the season, and this is my first chance seeing them and seeing that.
That's why I called them interesting.
Seeing the roster and looking at 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10.
He started 10 sophomores Friday. He started 10 sophomores Friday. Yeah. It was 7 on defense.
So look out for them. They've got a chance to end some of those. You mentioned 24, Pierce Mooberry, who went up and made some really nice contested catches up in the air.
Still don't think he caught that ball along the sidelines late, but that's okay because it was along their sidelines. Yeah. Plus, I love the family. So it's like, hey, man, if he got it, he got it. Just don't have it being a loss.
Yeah, I get the video. It's pretty close, but great job going up and tacking the ball and giving the rest a chance to give him the call.
Such a nice kid, too.
And again, we talked about they use him all over the place. And Colin Bogots, the kind of the fullback part of that option running game.
He is
the big boy.
You know what? And he's underappreciated.
Good hands too on that little pop pass.
They're fantastic. They're running the boot. I like him a ton. Yeah. He's a really good player, and it's just one of those guys that's kind of going along his deal playing high school that flies under the radar because he doesn't get the star power, the name, the recognition. But like I said, in the scouting report, 22, 8, 24, 22, 8, 24, and 22. He's way good. The fullback dive, the give. I mean, some of the little nuances that they do on offense. I know for the fan base, when you're not winning, it's hard to appreciate. Having to defend it, it's a mother.
Well, and there's some great punts in that game too. Like we mentioned 16 that Millard North had in the first half. That's because of safety. Yeah. Had a punt that they downed inside the one.
All right, lost my mind talking to Keenan Cotton saying, "Don't let." Could you hear me? Don't let it hit the ground. Don't let it roll.
And then a false start on first down on top of it. So now you're from the half-yard line, and they just shot right through. Bang.
And they bring pressure. Yeah, they're pretty good at. You know who I like, and I'm going to butcher his name. I like their rush in. He's wearing 11. Is it
Gooey? Yeah, Gooey Tip. I don't know how to say it. I haven't seen it, but Gooy.
He's got some tools.
He's long. 6'4". Yeah.
And he was pretty good getting after the passer. That's why I said in the beginning of the season, that's a team that interests me because they have good young talent.
Yeah. And so that Westside, you guys came out third quarter, 14-0 in the third, kind of took control there. So you're up 28-16 going in the fourth quarter. Then Millard North did make it interesting for a moment. They got another touchdown there, finally got on the board, cut it to a one-score game. Got a chance to get a turnover there. They had hands on an interception chance. They bring it down. You're near midfield. Got a chance to go down and tie the game. Weren't able to capitalize on that. Did force the punt, but then as they're trying to march it back down the field, fumble, just the mesh point, just mishandling between quarterback and the back. Westside recovers, and then Anthony Rizak does Anthony Rizak things with long touchdown.
We need to
kind of put it away.
Win ugly. We're one of those teams. Full disclosure. Sometimes I think we think we're better than we really are, and we're kind of a pretty team. So we're now learning how to win ugly when it doesn't quite fit what we want to do, which will serve us well in the long run, because the next team that we're getting ready to talk about in Gretna.
Yeah, I was also there on Thursday, so
Hey,
double dipped at Buell this week.
how scary are
last
they,
week.
though? And I understand the injury situation, and this isn't me. You know, I've been in on Gretna since, I mean, the Coach Feakin days with basketball. I respect the community. We've been playing against these guys forever. How dangerous are they that they are now this isn't, before it was, Zane Flores and the screen game, and, they mask what's going on up front and they spread you out. So that is a tough, physical football team. They're good on both sides, the O line, the D line. They're getting guys to step up without Joe Roll. Like, this team is pretty scary because they're winning ugly.
Yeah. And you mentioned the injury situation for Millard South. Obviously, Cam Koziel playing baseball. Brock Murtaugh started against Elkhorn South. He's injured now. So they gave a couple of upperclassmen chances, and they really struggled. So midway through the second quarter, they threw in a freshman, Jet Tomala. And he got off to a really rough start. Was completed 5 of his first 5 of his first 15 passes. Had an interception at the end of that, but from that point on, he settled in. And in 2.5 quarters, he attempted 46 passes because they just couldn't get anything going on the ground against that Gretna front. And he really settled in. Ended up 25 for 46 for 259 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Had a really good. It was 14 for 21 in the second half, making some good throws. Austin Trotter went up and had 2 just awesome catches, one over the top of the defender for one, and then another had a long touchdown where it went up and won it, and then ran away from his defender and got the score. So I was really impressed with Tomala and the way that he settled in as game one. And it was pretty windy that night. Like, that was not easy conditions to throw. And even Flores kind of had a subpar day for his standards.
For Zane.
First time under 70% completion.
Another guy that's his own benchmark. He's as good as it gets.
Yeah. 15 for 24. Again, 62.5 completion is a bad day at the office for a guy like that who has completed almost 80% of his passes coming in. But 159 yards, 3 touchdowns. So, like, he's still – and Gretna took advantage of the situation right away off the bat. They forced a 3-and-out punt into the wind, and ended up being a short punt. They went down, short field touchdown. Then 3-and-out, force a punt, block the punt, another short field. They go down and score off of that. I mean, by the time Tomala even got in the game, it was 28-0. So at that point, like, game's over. But essentially, you're not getting back into that. But I was impressed with Tomala showed. But yeah, Gretna, just a lot of talent all over the field on both sides of the ball.
So I think, here's the thing. This is kind of where I am with Gretna. I think we talk a lot about the individual good players, right? We talked about Marshall, and they had a pair of great outside receivers, and then you have individual good players like Flores and Roll and Damon and Colin Sims, and these guys are really, really good. You know where they don't get enough credit? And I saw this firsthand watching this offensive staff. That coaching staff is amongst the best in the state. There's no question in my mind that when it comes to preparation and getting your kids to buy in and believe, they're among the elite in the state. There's no other way to really say it. I mean, this is an elite level coaching staff.
And I think their rise over the last handful of years kind of reflects that. Right. And obviously what they're able to do last year and what they look like now.
Attention to detail, their game plans, the buy-in. It's because what happens is, and this is a different way to think about it. Sometimes when you're known or notorious for being a grinder or making the most out of not what everybody else has, sometimes there's a little learning period when you start getting really good talent. It's like, oh, do I coach it the same? Is it Brady Hoke's a good example, right? Like, Brady Hoke appeared to be a guy that didn't enjoy coaching 4- and 5-star guys. He was used to grading and to grinding. And on a similar level, Coach Kale and that staff, they have embraced the expectations. They've met it head on. I, I'm telling you, there's only a few staffs that I would put on the same shelf when it comes to like true game preparation. There's only a few peers for them.
Yeah.
They have made a nice adjustment into handling being the hunted too.
And we talked about Isaiah Weber, big week last week. Stepped it up even more. 20 carries for 194 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Would you let him and Demma get off the bus first at the same time?
If
I'm Gretna, I let those two guys get off the bus first.
Well, and he 4 catches for 49 yards on top of that. So like that's a pretty darn good day at the office. And he's not the same kind of player as Mick Huber. He's not going to hammer you between the tackles the same way that Huber did. But man, they're really good at getting him to the edge, and he's got some speed to burn.
Yeah, he does.
They run that on that little jet motion there out of the backfield and get him going to that edge, and then it's a foot race. And again, good hands, whether it's screen game or just kind of getting downfield. So yeah, Gretna very much looks the part of reigning champs right now. 4-0 start to the season. It's a 49-26 win. So yeah,
you ready to move the number 3 team, Elkhorn South, as we got to kind of go rapid
yeah, we got to
here.
get going here.
You ready to move them up, or still about what you think with Elkhorn South?
Yeah, I think this week it was a 49-7 win over Omaha Central. Not going to learn anything from that. I know. I believe Cole Ballard was close to a school record for touchdowns and got pulled because
they won't be tested until they may not be tested until the end of the season with Omaha North.
Yeah, so
we'll see what happens with Grand Island, but they may not be tested until the end of the season.
Yeah, Grand Island back in the top 10 after a 27-14 win over Lincoln High at Lincoln High on Friday,
and have given Norfolk their only loss, who we play this week at 3-1. I told you this last week. I think you maybe thought I was kidding. Grand Island's better than they looked against us.
Yeah, and I think they're starting to figure some things out with the new pieces from last year. I've guys stepping out. They ran the ball all over the field against Lincoln High. So 3-1 start for Grand Island. Again, they only lost to the number 1 team in the state, so not bad there. Omaha North 42-10 over Benson. Again, another one
really silenced some of the whispers about potential transitioning of power, where kids may or may not want to go to school. North firmly establishing that they're still the school.
Yeah, and they'll get the Central on Thursday as well. So Kearney, we mentioned already the 35-34 win over Bellevue West, vaulting them into the top 5 after a 4-0 start. Traven Beckman again, making some big plays quarterback, and then finding a way to get it done for Coach Cool.
And then the best 2 and 3 team in the state. There's zero question. The best 2 and 3 team in the state. They're over there off of Western Street.
Yeah, and that was a close game for a bit, and then Prep was like, all right, game over. Marty Brown, 25 carries for 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. They're still.
Can Prep afford to play 4 quarterbacks?
They're still struggling. I mean, Donaldson attempted more passes than Stessman, but they both gave the ball away. Ezra Vedral, 35 yards on 5 carries, so they kind of still continuing to mix that there. So that's again the question for a postseason run for Bellevue West or for Creighton Prep. Can they get steady? I mean, you don't need 200 yards a game out of the quarterback, but you got to have steady play. You got to complete passes. You got to not turn the ball over. So that's kind of the question that Prep has to answer the rest of the season, because you feel good about that line. You feel good on both sides of the ball. You feel good about Marty Brown, obviously. You just need to get consistent play there to feel the complete team. Talk about Millard North. They're at number 8, even after the loss. Good showing in that. Papio South at 9 after a 51-14 blowout versus Burke.
I was talking with Sharpie as I was watching the replay of the broadcast. Burke gets out 14-0
in the first quarter.
Running Wildcat. It appears to catch Papio South off guard, and then all of a sudden 51 unanswered.
Yeah, that's rough. Devin Jones, 16 carries, 151 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also had a 30-yard receiving touchdown, which they don't really throw him the ball that much. So
I would. He's a good athlete.
Yeah,
you've seen him hoop too. He's got deceptively good hands for what I call a big guy.
Yeah, good quarterback play. Schuler, 204 yards, 3 touchdowns. They got almost 100 yards out of their other running back, Owen Connor. So Papio South kind of righted the ship after the Elkhorn South loss.
Okay, so let's stop real quick right there. We're gonna have to get a little extra time on the pod. So Papio South has beaten North Platte, Fremont, Papillion, La Vista. They lost to Elkhorn South. They beat Burke. Is that the team in the top 10 you feel like you know the least about?
Yeah, because they're kind of in
Given
between. Yeah,
the variety of the difference in opponents they played. The one, what I would say, contender that they played, they did not show well against at all, but they do beat programs that they should beat. So there's something to be said for that.
and that Papillion La Vista loss will look a little bit better after the Monarchs. We talked about Lincoln Southwest coming off the big wins, 35-21 Papio over Lincoln Southwest. So that's not what you want to see if you're down in Lincoln. But so yeah, Papio South, they're kind of like to see them against Millard North or Kearney or North.
They get Omaha South this week, and then they get Gretna.
See 126, I think, combined points between Omaha South and South Sioux City up there.
Good to
see. It was a late night game up there too.
A lot of pinball.
Yeah.
Lot of pinball.
Yeah, so we'll see Papio South. They, I mean, they've got some talent there. We'll see if they get another shot to kind of put themselves back more on the map. Class B, quickly, we got to run through this a little bit. We talked about the big showdown in B, and gross.
Yeah, not much of one at all.
I was torn. I didn't know what I wanted to do.
At least you text me, kind of giving you a nudge.
I was like, do I want to go? I just watched Gross last week. Do I really want to make the 70-minute round trip out to Blair to watch this? And glad I did not. I got a much better game over there at Buell on Friday. But yeah,
hey, how good are they up front? O-line, D-line.
Yeah, and
remember, I joked with you at Sauter's Media Days. The two guys that Gross brought, I don't know if they want me to call them by name. They more than looked the part. They are well coached up front on the O-line and D-line. They got after suck up pretty good.
Yeah, and I was impressed with kind of their all around game against Elkhorn the previous week, and obviously Jake Garcia running back. Colby Duncan at quarterback. They didn't ask him to do a ton in that Elkhorn game, but I thought he made some nice plays. They've got some good receivers that also play both ways. You look at that team, almost everybody plays both ways, which is impressive. They don't have a huge roster. They've got their best athletes going both ways all game long. So it's impressive to be able to do that and still, again, 34-7 win over against what we think is a pretty good Blair team. Suck up 19-32, 177 yards. So I kept them under 60% completion, only one score and one turnover. So that's, that's what you want to see. They gave up 100 yards to Brock Templar, but again, 7 points. That's it. Like bend but don't break.
Tough to score on those folks.
After 14 against Elkhorn. So that's 21 points against two top 5 teams in back-to-back weeks for this Gross defense.
And even I can do that math. That's 10.5 a game. That'll get her done.
Yeah, that'll give you a chance to win. So we were like, when they got bumped up to 1, you're like, there's some coaching shenanigans going on there. They very much look like they belong right up there with Bennington.
And no disrespect to Isaac Connor and Colvert, and I mean they've got some fellas over there at Bennington, and it's setting up for a little bit of a collision course.
Yeah, no doubt. 35-0 win for Bennington over Pius, and credit to Pius, they held Bennington to 17 rushing yards on 16 carries, according to the box score. From what I'm looking at, only gave up 132 yards passing to Trey Bird, but 4 interceptions. That's like we said with the Bellevue West game. You can't give the ball away against a good team and expect to have a chance to win. So
not with Lordson and Lynn and Heineman on defense. Like that's again, another staff that would probably keep you up at night a little bit in terms of preparation. Bennington does a really good job.
Yeah. So 35-0. So Bennington 4-0 as well. You got 1 and 2 up there. Take your pick either way. Scottsbluff. This I for a bit I considered making the drive out to York, but I was like, nah.
You're going to at some point because I know you like to just get out and go see.
I've done the drive before for basketball, so it's there are worse ones, but 2017, Scottsbluff beat York, held on. York tried to make it interesting late with the long touchdown. Impressive showing from York, who held both Sebastian Boyle and Braden Stoll under 4 yards a carry on the ground. Like, that's not easy. But Stoll 7-10 passing for 155 yards and 2 touchdowns, 22 a pop on passing there. And they made some big plays to hold on to that, but that was a good showing for York. Garrett Ivy, 123 yards receiving and a touchdown from quarterback Ryan Sievers, who most of his yards went to Ivy. So York is 2-2 now, still in the top 10. Good showing.
One of 3 teams in the top 10 in Class B with 2 losses. 2 of the 3 have won state championships in the last 9 years. So that just goes to show you that the depth in the talent in Class B is tough.
Yeah. Elkhorn 34-13 over Scott. Scott's got some things figured out now. They get this week off to get back in the lab. Supposed to play Buena Vista, I believe. So they get a bye this week, get the forfeit win. And Elkhorn, again, riding the ship after that gross loss, 34 points, 3-1 off to the start now. And Waverly, 42-0 over Norris. Kind of making a statement there like, hey, we're still here. 177 yards rushing for Evan Castens. So they didn't even need Trey Jackson to put the ball in the air very much. Only 13 pass attempts. Really impressive showing by Waverly. So that's, I think that's top 8 right there.
Yeah. And before we go, we previewed it quickly. We said, hey, how many points will they score in Omaha, Roncalli? And Pierce did not disappoint.
92 points was the answer. 57-35. Roncalli kept scoring, made Pierce like, all right, we got to go put the ball in the end zone again. We can't just kind of cruise to the end here. And
but Aurora still continues to be the class of Class C1, I think.
58-6 over previously unbeaten Platteview, I believe. Yeah, that's
not all wins are created equal.
Where would Aurora be in Class B right now?
Towards the top.
Yeah.
I mean, they're right there.
Yeah.
That's a real deal football team.
Sorry,
right there.
C1.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Real deal. That's a full 35 minutes. Appreciate you staying extra with us. That's Nebraska Preps post game. That's my man Jacob Padilla. I'm ODB. We'll be back next Monday. Don't you dare miss it.